Your body may be aging faster than you realize, but what if the answer to slowing it down was already on your plate? Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara lived to 105. At 100, he still climbed hospital stairs with a quiet kind of defiance, pressing his hand lightly against the rail, his white coat trailing just behind him. He didn't retire, didn't retreat. Mornings began with a hot bowl of miso and the rustle of handwritten notes in his breast pocket. He once stopped mid-lecture to help a woman adjust her walker, saying, "We all need support, at any age." His life was a series of simple repetitions, not grand reinventions, and maybe that was the point. In the U.S., most people live to about 76. In Okinawa, it's 84, and many live far longer. But it's not just the years. It's the way those years feel. There, elders still ride bicycles to town. They kneel to pick herbs from the earth. They laugh often, eat slowly, and end meals with gratitude instead of guilt. It's not a culture of optimization. It's one of quiet respect for time, for food, for the body that carries us. Dr. Hinohara didn't treat the body like a machine that needed constant fixing. He treated it like an old friend, one you listen to, one you don't rush. He understood that the body remembers how we live. Every late-night meal, every hurried bite, every morning walk. The body keeps score. But it also forgives when we return to rhythm. Before he passed, Dr. Hinohara left behind more than memories. He left timeless lessons. Simple, powerful principles that shaped his century-long life and kept his body light, his mind clear, and his spirit joyful. Today, we'll look at 5 of those principles and how they can transform your energy, digestion, and clarity after 60. So before we talk about what to eat, let's begin with something more powerful, the moment we choose to stop. In Okinawa, there's a quiet rule whispered across generations, Hara Hachi Bu. Eat until you're 80% full, not until the plate is clean, not until the stomach stretches with discomfort, just until the body says, softly, "That's enough." It's a practice of pause, a moment of listening, before the next bite silences what the body already knows. The people who live by this aren't restricting, they're respecting. Meals aren't rushed or measured in calories. They're measured in presence. A bowl of rice, a bit of fish, a few vegetables, eaten slowly, eaten with care, not just to fuel the body, but to stay in rhythm with it. Helen was 68 when she heard the phrase for the first time. Raised on wartime thrift and clean-your-plate manners, fullness had always meant success. She didn't notice when her hunger had ended, only when her plate had. Over time, meals left her heavy, her sleep shallow, her afternoons dim. Then one evening, halfway through dinner, she put her fork down and looked at her half-eaten plate. The house was quiet, the light golden. She placed her hand gently on her stomach and whispered, "Am I full?" She waited, and something inside her softened. She stood up, not out of discipline, but relief. Weeks later, her digestion felt lighter, her mind clearer. She stopped falling asleep in front of the TV. But more than that, something inside her had shifted. She began treating her body not like a task to manage, but a quiet fire to tend. Every meal became an act of listening. She wasn't limiting herself. She was finally hearing herself, maybe for the first time. Mistake number 2, skipping plant proteins. In the West, protein is often seen through the heavy lens of tradition. thick steaks, grilled chicken, and sizzling platters that promise strength. But in Okinawa, where some of the longest-living people in the world enjoy their days well into their 90s, protein looks and tastes very different. Their plates are light, their meals gentle. Tofu, miso soup, and tender edamame are not occasional sides. They are the foundation of vitality. And it isn't just cultural wisdom. Science agrees. Studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that regular consumption of soy-based foods, rich in isoflavones and prebiotic fiber, supports heart health, reduces inflammation, and lowers LDL cholesterol. These plant proteins don't just feed the body. They help it heal and age gracefully, nourishing the gut, protecting the brain, and strengthening the bones. Frank was 73 when he realized the way he'd always eaten was quietly working against him. A proud retired contractor, he believed real. Strength came from hearty meals, thick cuts of red meat and buttery sides. Soy? That was never on his table. He'd heard all the myths. Soy wasn't masculine, it messed with hormones. And so, year after year, the meals stayed heavy, and his body followed suit. His blood pressure rose. His joints felt stiff each morning, and by early afternoon, fatigue settled into his bones like an old familiar guest. But one rainy afternoon, curiosity outweighed old habits. Standing in his quiet kitchen, he reached for something new, a block of fresh tofu. He sliced it gently, sautéed it with bok choy and ginger, and stirred it into a light, steaming broth. The air filled with warmth and a subtle spice. That first bite felt strange, almost too light. But beneath the simplicity was something he hadn't tasted in years: relief. Frank made that same meal twice a week. Simple, clean, no complicated recipes. And within 3 weeks, the changes spoke for themselves. His blood pressure dropped noticeably. The stiffness in his knees eased. And, for the first time in years, he stayed awake through the soft, golden hours of the afternoon, without the familiar pull toward his armchair and a long, unintended nap. You don't need to change everything overnight. Sometimes it begins with one small choice: a lighter meal, a kinder ritual, a quiet promise stirred gently into a humble pan. Mistake number 3. Ignoring fermented foods. In the modern West, many have quietly turned their backs on one of nature's oldest forms of healing, fermented foods. But in Japan, these humble traditions are still part of daily life. Each morning begins not with a pill or a supplement, but with something far simpler: a warm bowl of miso soup, gently stirred and sipped in silence. This isn't just comfort, it's a ritual of repair. Miso, fermented seaweed, and pickled vegetables bring life back to the gut, calming the storm within and awakening the body's quiet resilience. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who lived vibrantly to the age of 105, practiced this ritual every day. To him, that simple bowl of miso was more than a meal. It was medicine. Science now understands why. Fermented foods offer what researchers call synergy, a living harmony of probiotics, digestive enzymes, and anti-inflammatory compounds working together in ways that no capsule can replicate. A study published in Nature found that people who regularly consume fermented foods have stronger immune systems, healthier gut flora, and even sharper cognitive function as they age. Elizabeth, at 70, had long struggled with the quiet discomfort of poor digestion. Meals left her feeling heavy. Afternoons were clouded by fatigue. Her kitchen shelves held every promised remedy: fiber powders, probiotic capsules, digestive teas, but nothing brought real relief. Her gut, as she described it, felt like a locked garden, overgrown and untended. One cool autumn morning, she found herself standing in the soft light of her kitchen, a small jar of miso in her hands, wrapped simply in brown paper, a gift from a friend. With nowhere left to turn, she stirred a single spoonful into a cup of warm water and sat by the window, her hands curled gently around the warmth. As she sipped, it felt like she was holding a small kindness between her palms. And for the first time in years, her body softened into ease. She made this a ritual, one small cup every morning. Within days, the bloating eased. Her digestion settled like still water after a long storm. By the second week, she no longer needed to lie down after meals. Her energy stayed steady through the afternoon, her thoughts clearer, her body lighter. It wasn't a diet. It wasn't a restriction. It was a return, a gentle way of tending to herself with something warm and alive. You can begin the same way. A spoonful of miso stirred into warm water, a bite of naturally fermented pickles alongside your meal, one quiet habit to remind your body how balance feels. And now let's explore one forbidden food group in the West that the Japanese eat every day and credit for their strong hearts and clear arteries. Mistake number 4, fearing carbs. In the West, carbs have been cast as the villain. Cut them to lose weight. Avoid them to control blood sugar. For years, this fear has shaped meals into something smaller, more rigid, and far less joyful. But in Okinawa, where some of the world's longest living people live with clarity and vitality well into their 90s, one humble food sits quietly at the heart of their health: the Japanese purple sweet potato. More than just a vibrant color. On the plate, these sweet potatoes are a nutritional powerhouse. They're rich in anthocyanins, potent antioxidants known to protect blood vessels, reduce inflammation, and slow the cellular aging process. A study published by the National Institutes of Health found that anthocyanin-rich foods improve blood vessel function and may reduce cognitive decline in older adults. Add to this their high fiber content, which helps stabilize blood sugar, and the natural supply of potassium and vitamin C, essential for heart and immune health. Despite their sweetness, they have a low glycemic index, meaning they release energy slowly without causing dangerous blood sugar spikes. It's no wonder that Okinawan elders derive over 60% of their daily calories from these remarkable roots and thrive because of them. Thomas, at 70, lived under the weight of carb restriction for years. Diagnosed with prediabetes, he pushed every starch off his plate. No bread, no rice, even fruits were eyed with caution. But despite his discipline, his afternoons felt heavy and dull. Cravings came like old ghosts, especially late in the day, and his energy faded before the sun even set. Then one quiet afternoon, he chose a different path. Steaming a handful of Japanese purple sweet potatoes, he watched their vibrant flesh soften into a color like twilight. On his plate, they looked like small suns, radiant, comforting, alive. That first bite was sweet but clean, nourishing without regret. He added them to his lunch just twice a week, half a cup, simple and unadorned. Within 2 weeks, the change was undeniable. His energy held strong through the afternoon hours. His cravings softened. And when he checked his blood sugar each morning, the numbers told their own quiet story. More stable, more balanced, like a calm tide returning to shore. Thomas didn't abandon his careful habits. He simply made space for something his body had quietly needed all along. Balance, not restriction. You might find that same balance waiting for you. Start small. Add a handful of steamed sweet potatoes to your next lunch. A reminder that not all carbs are created equal, and some may quietly lead you back to strength. And now we'll explore the final lesson from Japan's oldest doctor, a philosophy even more powerful than the foods we eat. In the end, it's not just about what you eat, it's about how you live around it. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, even as he passed his 100th birthday, didn't measure his life in calories or strict routines. He lived by rhythm, not rules. Each day began gently. A warm bowl of miso, a quiet walk, a few pages from a favorite book. He took the stairs instead of elevators, not as exercise, but as a way of staying present with his own body. And most importantly, he laughed a lot. He believed that to stay young, you must keep finding moments of lightness, no matter how many. Years have passed. Margaret, at 72, had spent much of her life in a quiet battle with herself. Every meal came with a question. Was this the right food, the right time, the right portion? She counted grams, measured calories, and followed every Abao's rule the latest health trend demanded. But instead of feeling free, she felt trapped, caught in a constant cycle of guilt and worry. Her days were tight, her shoulders tense, her mind always calculating. Then one cool spring morning, sitting alone with a cup of tea, she realized what was missing wasn't another rule, it was rhythm. She started small. Mornings became slow, rituals. Stretching by the window as the sun rose, preparing breakfast without rush. She walked after lunch, breathing with each step, not to burn calories, but to feel the world move gently around her. In the afternoons, she made time for quiet, just a moment by the garden, her hands in the soil, or a few deep breaths before making tea. Within weeks, the tightness in her chest softened. Meals no longer felt like tests to pass, but moments to enjoy. Her sleep deepened. Her laughter returned, light and unplanned. And in those spaces between doing, she found living again. Sometimes the most powerful change isn't found in a rule book. It's found in the pauses, in the spaces between moments. So take a breath. Slow your pace. Let your life find its natural rhythm. And remember, this isn't about doing more. It's about being more present for what already is. So, as we come to the end of this journey, let's take a quiet moment to gather the 5 powerful lessons. Simple truths inspired by Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who lived with joy and vitality for over a century. First, eat until you're just 80% full. Leave a little space at every meal, not as a rule, but as an act of gentle respect for your body's natural wisdom. Second, embrace the strength of plant-based foods. Soft tofu, tender beans, and nourishing edamame aren't just meals. They're quiet medicine for your heart, your bones, and your years ahead. Third, remember the life hidden in the simplest things. A spoonful of warm miso, a bite of fermented pickles. These living foods repair what stress and time have worn thin. They nourish the unseen places within you, helping balance return where it was lost. Fourth, don't fear good carbohydrates. Japanese purple sweet potatoes, rich in powerful antioxidants and gentle energy, have sustained some of the longest living people on Earth. A small serving, just a few times a week, can bring back the energy and steadiness you thought were gone. And, finally, live by rhythm, not rigid rules. Start your mornings slowly. Walk with intention. Laugh often. Let your life move to a softer pace, one where the heart feels light and each moment has room to breathe. You don't need to change everything at once. Just choose one small kindness today, one lighter meal, one quiet walk, one moment to sit with your tea and simply breathe. And if you do, you may find that it's not just the years in your life that grow, but the life in your years. This is how we live long well, not by chasing perfection, but by filling each day with presence, joy, and small, loving choices. If this speaks to you, take a moment to share which habit you'll begin today. Leave a comment, inspire someone else, and let's walk this path together, because it's never too late to start living fully, deeply, and well.